Welcome to the Joy Within the Journey, sponsored by Nurse Leadership Solutions. I'm Tina Gotch.
And I'm Whitney Banks.
And we are here to entertain you today. I have a special person here with me today that we are going to interview her so you can get to know her. She is part of the Nurse Leadership Solutions team and a remarkable nurse that is also really dedicated to growing senior care as I have been. She's worked with me a long time. And I think for followers, you need to know her story. So we want her to be one of the first ones that we interview. So Whitney Banks, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, let's see here. I have worked with you for 16 years, I think. Going on 16 years. We've put up with each other for that long.
I know. It seems crazy.
We are a very good balance together. You have strengths that I do not, and I have strengths that you are working on.
And that is not always easy. I can't say that. It's not always easy because I also, the one I'm working on is being a little soft.
And I'm a big old baby, so.
And she needs to put on her big girly pants sometimes.
I do. A little bit about me. I am married. I have 3 kiddos, 2 of my own and 1 bonus kiddo. I have lots of hobbies. I love reading, hiking, anything outside, Peloton, all things Peloton. Getting ready to start training for my very first marathon. I have ran a couple half marathons, but never a full marathon. So that will consume me from about June until October. That will be my priority. So I'm pretty excited about that.
If I'm running, must be something chasing me.
That's what most people say.
And
They're
it
like, oh
will,
my God, you're crazy.
it will definitely catch me.
Yeah, I love running. There's something about it that's very peaceful. Yes, even though sometimes I'm hyperventilating and fighting for my life, there is still this peace about it it's like a high for me that I'm running after. So that's why I enjoy it. I love anything fitness.
One of the things we don't have in common.
I've been a nurse so I graduated nursing school in May of 10.
What made you decide to go to nursing school?
Well, when I was 18, I guess, I worked at a daycare. And at that time, a family or a parent had came in to pick up their kiddo that went to the daycare. And she said, hey, we're hiring at the nursing home.
This was Kim, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I just seen her last Sunday night.
Yeah, she was the director of nursing at the time. And our kiddos went to the daycare I worked at. And she said, we're hiring. If you're interested, come in. I didn't even know what the heck she was hiring for, but I was like, okay, I'll go in, see what it's about.
Shout out to Kim. She had obviously a good mom to pick a good nurse.
Yes, thank you. Thanks, Kim. And then I went in, interviewed with, I believe, Kim and Lillian. Yes, who was the ADON, Assistant Director of Nursing at the time. And of course, this was a long time ago, so I remember bits and pieces of it. But I was basically hired on the spot, which
senior care is pretty well known for that.
So I put my notice in at the daycare, started orientation, and my first
hour. No,
yeah,
just kidding.
Not surprised. Started orientation, had my first day on the floor, and it was pretty rough. I had no idea what I was getting into. I had 0 experience at this point. I didn't know what long-term care was. I didn't know what a nursing home was. I had never been exposed to that environment.
Because you were homeschooled, right?
I was.
Yeah.
Up until high school. Thanks, Mom, for that. So
I was sheltered, maybe.
Very sheltered. Very quiet. Socially awkward, but
she came out of that really quickly.
I did.
Senior care, aka nursing, will do that too.
Yes. But one of my first shifts that I remember that I was like, hell no, this is not for me, was one of the girls that I was working with. It was the end of our shift, and she tossed a bag at me and said, here, take these to the hopper and rinse these out. And I said, what do you mean? What's that? And she opens the door to a dirty utility room, and just the smell of opening the door. Yes. I was like, what am I about to do? And she said, you just take all these washcloths out of here and you have to spray them, spray all the poop out of them, and then put them in another laundry bag and then they go down to be laundered. And I was like, what? You're crazy. Am I being punked right now? Absolutely not. But I did it. And the whole time I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not coming back. This is nuts. I'm going back to the daycare with the little kids.
I mean, they they have some similar issues, just
They-
smaller.
they do. But that was rough. And for somebody that had never done anything like that or been in that type of environment, that could have been handled a little differently. But
You know, orientation is a big part of what we are going to focus on. So I'm glad that you brought that up because we'll be getting that into future episodes. Funny story about that, how to bring those washcloths is I was the director of nursing and I heard all the time, it's your staff is flushing my washcloths. They're flushing, they're throwing them away. And I actually went through all the trash for 24 hours one time just to see how many washcloths we were actually throwing away. Because you have this departmental thing where housekeeping, dietary, nursing, everybody's. So I literally kept every bag for 24 hours to determine if my staff was throwing them away. And there was like two in the whole 24 hours. So we know for certain that the hopper just eats the washcloths.
oh shoot.
We know that you were flushing them instead of washing them out.
Yeah. That was rough. That was rough. But I got over it. I left there thinking, like, I can't do this. I don't think I'm gonna come back. But I did. I came back. There were several people that I connected with. Vanessa was one that really stood out and took me under her wing, and she did very good training and definitely had a knack for long-term care and passion for long-term care.
I would agree. She was a great,
Yeah.
great aide and now nurse.
She's one that stands out for sure. And several nurses. Marie was a good one that I remember from back then. I ended up coming back, gosh, day after day after day. I had a situation where I was sitting with somebody who was passing, and during that situation, I was like, okay, this is it. This is for me. And then that's when I knew that I loved long-term care. I love the old people. The old people are cool.
And the old people love you.
Yes, lots of stories. I was very close with my grandma, so I think I just naturally am drawn to older individuals, which is why I like long-term care.
Well, as you said, old people are cool.
They are very cool. Lots of stories. And
So,
of course, got certified, CNA, CMT, and then decided,
and Connie was your instructor?
yes,
Yes.
Connie.
Yes. Connie was a remarkable senior care advocate
Mhm.
nurse. And
Great teacher too.
her instruction of a CNA class was remarkable. And
Yeah.
I think that is a lasting legacy that she left.
Yes.
And that I can't even imagine how many students that she actually put through.
I wish we knew.
I
Like,
wish we knew too.
the number.
I wish. I've seen her kids, not last month, I guess, and I just every time I see them, her daughter looks a lot like her, and every time I see him, it just makes me think about the impact she had because she actually was um, in my interview when I got hired as my first RN job, and I got passed over 3 times.
Three?
She did not pick me 3 times. And back then there used to be like an onslaught, like you put a job out and it was small town and so there was lots of RNs that applied. And I actually it took 3 times for me to get hired on. I was a brand new nurse. They were hiring me for a position. A lot of aspect of that was my grandmother was a resident there. Sometimes it's hard to hire family members of residents. And I don't know if that was it, or maybe I was just a really bad interviewer. I don't know. Or just a new nurse, or maybe my mom and my aunt had been hard on them. I don't know. But it did take me 3 times.
What were you hired for? Nights, days, evenings?
Day shift. Back then, there was this perfect balance, I'm age myself, but there was this perfect balance where the RNs were just on day shift and, your LPNs were on the other shifts and you really didn't break away from that, our particular community. And so it was day shift, 8-hour shifts on day shift.
Did you work weekends?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, every other weekend.
Yeah.
and any other time that they need to do. Which, ironically, there wasn't that many needs then.
When I decided to go to nursing school, I found a program in Fenton. I don't even know if it's still there, but it was Monday through Friday. So
Mhm.
I went to nursing school Monday through Friday and then worked as a CMT on the weekends.
I remember
Every
that.
Saturday, Sunday, I worked 16-hour shifts.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then did nursing school Monday through Friday. And to this day, I don't know how I survived that.
When we get to my story, which we won't get into today, I'm similar, and I don't even know
Yeah.
how that happens. And I hear people say they can't do it. And I'm like, well, I did it, so you could do it. And then I'm like, I'm not sure I would recommend it. So,
Yeah, I mean, it was great. And then I worked as a charge nurse for a little while, very short time. And then staff development.
mhm.
I think I was only a charge nurse maybe 6 months, and then was asked if I would do staff development, which to this day was still my favorite job.
I agree that fits you to the T.
Yes.
And that is why Nurse Leadership Solutions wants you to be their instructor.
Yes. Thank you. I enjoy it. I like teaching. It's something that comes natural to me, so it's just something that I'm comfortable with. And I've now been around for a long time, and I've seen a lot. So I feel like I have a lot to offer to new CNAs or CMTs or new nurses coming into this area.
But most importantly, you carry that compassion and that energy for senior care when you're teaching.
It's easy to do when you enjoy what you're doing.
Mhm.
It's easy to do. And then I don't know how long I did that before I became the ADON, which still was a lot of staff development. We just kind of combined those positions. So I still did a lot of the hiring, training, orientation, but then did some like things for the DONs and paperwork aspect things. And we all know I love that paperwork.
Yes, yes. We all have our we all have our strengths. We won't comment on that.
Oh shoot. And then I don't know how long I did that. Timelines I'm not for sure of right now. But then I filled in as an interim. I don't want to say only an LPN, but I am an LPN, not an RN. So I couldn't do the full DON role, but I did fill in as an interim for a little while. And then you ventured off to assisted living.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, what am I gonna do now? And then a position opened on the assisted living side as a licensed administrator for an assisted living. I started there in 2013. We left St. Clair in 2013, and then went to the assisted living division. We went to the dark side. We went to That's what we called the ALF division in long-term care. We went over to the dark side, and it was great. I loved it. It was a big transition at first because long-term care, skilled, is much more
Rigid.
yes, very fast-paced, very go, go, go. You have a lot to do, a lot to get done
Yeah.
in a short amount of time because you have a lot more people to take care of. You know, in a skilled environment, you have 60, 70, 80 residents. In the assisted living, I had, 20 to 30 in one building and then, 10 to 14 in the arbors. So a lot less people to take care of. But being an administrator was eye-opening for me. I had some experience leading, but not in the business side of things. So you did a lot of the business aspect of that job for me because that is definitely not my strength. But I grew a phenomenal team there. They became my family. My kids grew up in that building. A lot of us grew up in that building together, and people that I still talk to, on a weekly basis. So that was a great experience. I loved it.
I would say, being on both sides, and I know is skilled is kind of like my baby. I love skilled, and probably that fits my personality because I like that. I wouldn't say rigidness, but I like that the structure maybe a little bit more. Whereas assisted living is the soft side of senior care, and it's that you really love?
Soft, but still very busy. As
It's
an
busy.
admin,
It's different.
I was able to still be a huge part of the resident aspect and
I would agree.
engage with the residents and engage with families. And I still got to do training and orientation.
Right.
I still remember setting up for orientation. We did like regional orientation there for a little while, and I could not wait to get those new peeps in the building. And I just wanted to roll out the red carpet for them when they were there and show them, how awesome it was to work.
Absolutely. Yeah. When I say soft, I don't mean any less work. Really, that it's interesting that, both of them are very hard. And at times, some days are great and some days a little bit harder. But, overall, it's just different kinds of tasks. Assisted living to me focuses on the softer side of senior care, and it gets harder as you get into um, skilled, but it all depends on what you're looking for out of it because, like a lot of people like yourself, you loved that assisted living side of it, and I really love the skilled side.
I enjoy both of them. I love different things about both of them. I can't say that I have a favorite because I gained a lot of experience and knowledge in both of them, and both of them made help me be who I am today.
So do you have as one particular moment that just stands out with a particular resident that you just know you connected and you made a difference as a nurse?
There's so many. There's one that obviously comes to mind. She was in the arbors. It was a very hard transition for her husband, but myself and the rest of the staff got very close with him and helped educate him and be an advocate for him and his wife. And she lived in the assisted living. She lived on the arbor side, but she lived there for several years before she passed away. And after she passed away, the husband was still very much involved in the building and with the staff. And still, I mean, it might have been, I say the other day, but my other day could have been 6 months ago. He sent a text message just reaching out and checking in. But that was, a decade ago.
Right. Yeah. And I know he's actually been a guest at the local colleges and stuff to talk about his experience as a family member in senior living. He really touched his life, and how far everyone went to accommodate her dementia. And, the behaviors that she had or the confusion that she carried, and also help him understand it because he was struggling when he first came, but he became part
Because he
of the
didn't have
family.
the tools or the knowledge, didn't know what to do or who he was dealing with, really. Because one day she woke up and she was normal, and then the next day he had no idea who she was. She had no idea who he was. It was a struggle. I can't imagine. I don't have a personal experience with a family member that has had dementia, but I have cared for lots of family members and residents that have had dementia. And it's hard. It's a very hard disease.
That it is. That it is. We will hear my story later, with my personal experience as a family member. It's not easy. And it's not easy for the caregivers either. And, one of the things that I always told my caregivers is if we can let the families go home and rest at night, knowing that we're taking care of their loved one, we've done our job. And we've done really well with it because I just, that is a, that is a really hard thing to do, to place your loved one somewhere that you don't know the people right out of the gates. I mean, maybe you might know some person if you're close to the town, know everybody, but overall, you don't know who's caring for you. So you're putting one of your most precious things there for other people. So
No one will ever care for them the way that you would care for them. So I feel like you have to give a little to knowing that your loved one isn't the only one there and you were in that atmosphere. I mean, you were in long-term care. You knew they had your loved one plus 70, 75 other people to take care of. So you have to step back too sometimes as a family member. And
no, right, because your focus is just your person there, and I
Right.
can remember, we had full faith in our caregivers when my grandmother was there and when she was passing. But in those, especially in those that last moment, when the tension's high and things are not going, the way you want them to go, not by, just by the powers that be, God deciding that's how it's going to go down.
Right.
um, that you have to really trust the process. And it's hard. It's hard. I can remember, you know, with my grandmother, like, like, are we doing the wrong thing? Are we doing the right thing? Is she comfortable? Is she not comfortable? Is there,
Is
because,
it too soon? Should we be trying something else? Are we
right,
giving up?
right.
Yes,
And
I have felt those feelings as a family member.
yeah. And well, it'd been so many years since my grandmother had been able to communicate with us that, back then you didn't really talk about anything in advance, so we really didn't know what she wanted, how she wanted it, what she did. But um, there's things that she lost in our memory that we will never know because, when we realized it was to that point, the memory was not there where we could even ask the question. So I know, we will definitely do an episode on preparing for those moments because that was something that I've learned now. I already have a box.
Yeah.
I already know what I want my family to know if I wake up tomorrow with end stage dementia. So,
I will know little things too.
and you will.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll make sure your hair is washed every single day. Your
And
makeup is done every single day. And your feet are lotioned every single night with your socks on. I'll make sure you have your sweet white wine every evening.
I mean, that would be fair. If I'm in senior care and I'm, struggling at all, you better be serving me some white wine every night.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd like a glass right now if you have any. I am older than you, so maybe could we start now? No, I'm just kidding. So, what would you say that is something that you've learned that you take out into the rest of the world from senior care?
Just how to be a good human, really. Customer service, knowing how to talk to people, knowing how to sympathize with people, um, building connections with people.
Yeah.
Long-term care isn't just a, in and out experience. And I got to build a lot of those connections with people. So I feel like it just made me a better communicator and better to sympathize with people, understand what they're going through, and put myself in their shoes in those situations to have a better idea of how to handle the situation.
I agree. And sometimes we have to go to, especially as you're taking care of them, you have to go to their reality. You have to be able to sympathize with people and figure out where they're at in their world and go there and really just kind of get,
Jump on whatever train.
jump on whatever train.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of how it
Live
works.
in whatever timeline they're living on,
Right.
just to make them happy and comfortable and content.
Do you have a moment that you can remember that just created great joy and laughter with your team or residents that you would like to share
Oh, with my team, so many stories
that
We
are
had-
appropriate to share?
Going back to when I had a team, we had 2 family nights. So every year we would raise money for the Alzheimer's Association. And one year we did pie in the face contest. So we had jars set up, and as soon as you walked in, and they had our faces on the jars.
Yes, I remember these jars.
Yes, the employees' faces were on the jars.
I
And
think I put a lot of money in your jar.
yeah, lots of people did. I got some pies and my face that night.
And I hope they weren't pudding pies because those are really hard to get out of your hair.
Just cool it.
Yeah,
Cool
that's
pies.
better. Pudding is really rough.
Yes. But that particular family night, we had so many people there, so many laughs, so many pies in the face. But we raised a lot of money for a good organization. And we had a dunking booth also for another family night. And that's one that it actually popped up on my memories the other day on Facebook. And I was like, oh my God, that was so much fun. But lots of laughs with our team, lots of cries, of course. I know, big surprise coming for me. And residents, I still see family members from residents in the area, and it's kind of like, do they remember remember me? Do I say hi? Do they say hi? Some do.
But then they come up and give you a big hug and
Yes.
thank you, and you're like, yes, they
Glad I
remember,
said something.
yeah, they remember me, and
Yep.
they know the difference that I made in their loved one's life.
Yes.
And talking about your team there, just to go back to that leadership that you demonstrated by putting those events together and creating that, laughter is the best medicine. I 100% believe that. Is why I said I was trying to get softer these days and have more laughter. And I think that that is so important. And that is why you had a team that, won awards and was, your census was high and your turnover was low and all those things. It's because of those events that created that laughter and connection between those people on your team.
It was fun. We had a great team. A great team.
So, how else has senior care impacted your life?
Lots of friendships. Lots of friendships.
You have friends?
I do. Two of my closest, I would say two of my best friends, I met in long-term care. And that was a challenge too, to be so close to your boss.
It is a challenge, like in normal society and life, you don't, your boss is supposed to be someone that sits down and that has a separate life than you. But in senior care, you're really positive experience that you're supposed to be creating with everyone. And there's connections and there's people that step up and just like come help you. And, some people might say that they're brown nosers, but from the leader that is actually leading them, it's just what you see, they're just compassionate about senior care. And that's okay. And it does create a lot of dynamics because there's other people on the team that aren't meant to do senior care that maybe are there or they're not necessarily a good team player and that's an issue or you know you spend more time with one you've learned to know each other really well in the field and then that creates where you can create even deeper connection.
And you surround yourself by people who bring out the best in you.
Right.
I feel like that's where we just always found ourselves. Yes, we found some not so best.
There were some moments. Yeah.
But overall, see strengths in people and you know how to utilize those and grow a person from those. And you're just naturally drawn to people that make you feel good. So I think that's why here we are 16 years later.
I think so. And I thank you for your support over the last 16 years and even with this venture here that we're doing right now, because, it's sometimes can be lonely in leadership. And that's one of the reasons that we teach about teamwork and leadership is Nurse Leadership Solutions, because I do think that there is a lot more ability to create a lot more connections.
And that's why I say you always have to have a mentor. Every leader has a good mentor. So you have to find somebody that you look up to and that motivates you, even as a leader.
I would agree. I would totally agree. And, when you find yourself without that mentor, you got to step out and find a new one and kind of go from there because it brings you down as a person to not have that one and makes you lose focus. So,
and have doubts. And you don't need that. Yeah. You don't need that negativity. Good vibes only here.
Yeah. So, my questions fell on the floor. I was trying to see if I had anyone else. So what advice would you give a new nurse considering a career in senior care?
Oh my gosh. Give it a chance. Senior care now, stay off TikTok. Don't listen to the nurses on TikTok. There's a lot of negativity on TikTok about getting into nursing and having a nursing career. And a lot of those nurses are just money driven and don't do it for the compassion. They don't do it because it's something that they're drawn to. It's more money driven. And you don't get burnt out as a nurse unless you're working all the crazy shifts and picking up all the overtime and doing it for the money. Those are the nurses that are burnt out. But going into long-term care, it's all I ever knew. So I can't imagine not having that background or starting my nursing career in a hospital. Yes, I would probably have a lot more clinical experience and know a lot more clinical wise as a nurse, but I wouldn't have those deep roots that molded me into who I am today if I didn't start in long-term care.
One time I think it was you I was talking to, and you said something like that, as I'd like to develop some of my clinical skills. Things that I learned in nursing school. And, I had to really think about that and go, okay, well, what did I learn in nursing school? Of course, I've been a nurse for a long time, so I don't remember everything, but I do remember the basics. And the basics consist of care, fundamentals of nursing, which is the care for the person, their basic ADLs, and then care planning. Everyone talks about care planning in nursing school. Oh my gosh, care planning, care planning, care planning. Well, guess what you do in senior care? You do a lot of care planning because you're trying to figure that whole person out again. You're not trying to figure out, a diagnosis, a disease. You're trying to figure out the whole person, every diagnosis. And by golly, there might be 500 of them. So you got to figure out everything. And then also into, pharmacology of it and giving the medications and how to give the medications and all those different things. So that's kind of challenged my mind because even as a RN, I think back of, okay, I didn't, do a lot of IVs. You wouldn't want me to start an IV on you these days. But I wrote my fair share of care plans and actually followed through and did that care plan based on that whole person, and I learned all about their housekeeping needs and their dietary needs and all the things that, obviously we all learned at some point, but I evolved into all of that. And a lot of that is what I learned in nursing school. Because, you don't get the chance to do a lot of the clinical things in nursing school either. So again, I wouldn't look at Tina to start her IV, but if you want to try it one day, I'll let you guinea pig it up. But
I have no issues starting your IV.
All righty.
Nursing school is the same anymore. Seeing new nurses coming in and doing their clinicals. I'm not sure that like compassion is something that they teach you in nursing school, or how to, not pass judgment on the patient or the resident that you're caring for, and, how to have those good communication skills with them. Even something as simple as knocking on the door before you enter a room, or as you leave, asking, is there anything else that I can get you? I don't see that in new nurses, unfortunately. Now, I do in some that started nursing school as CNAs and have been in long-term care previously, or nurses that have worked in long-term care previously. I work in a hospital now, and I can tell all the nurses that have worked in long-term care before they came to the hospital.
Yeah.
There's just something different about it.
There it is. Again, that is caring for the whole person.
Yeah.
I just think that it is it is, it is even though we talk about skills and ALF and the warm and hot and cold and whatever, but overall, it is the warm side of nursing is to be, because you're wrapping your loving nursing arms around that whole person.
Right.
And
their family.
And their family. Right. And that's what they need.
It's very rewarding. It's a great feeling.
So
don't ask me any questions that'll make me cry.
So I just want to share, since we are focused on Whitney today, is that she recently won an award.
I did.
And at her place of employment as a nurse. She didn't share that she's actually in nursing school to advance her nursing degree at this point.
So I can not just be an LPN.
Yes, I would never consider an LPN just an LPN, and I want to slap her when she says that, to be quite honest, because as an RN, I've worked with many LPNs that can run circles around me and every RN I've ever met, and she would probably be one of them. But as she's advancing in that, gosh, my dementia just set in. What was I going to say? But she won an award, and it doesn't surprise me that she won an award. You talk about those caregivers, and you were telling me about it, and I did read it, to where you were caring for a family that noticed that compassion that you have, and that's kind of what you were just talking about with the CNAs and those caregivers and the nurses from senior care, of just jumping in and having that compassion and bringing it to the table. So that's one of the reasons that Nurse Leadership Solutions is going to focus on getting some nurse scholarships going. And right now, there is a lot of scholarships that you can get out there to become a nurse, but sometimes you need help with
The
you know,
paperwork or just understanding.
the
of it.
paperwork or understanding or where do you get that fund or what we can do. And a lot of schools can help you with that. And I highly encourage that. Sometimes it's just about maybe you need a little extra funds just to help with childcare while you're in nursing school. Whitney talked about her experience, and I know when she had a little one before nursing school, right? Were you in nursing school when you had Jay? No, afterwards.
Right after. Yeah.
Yeah. But I had a 3-year-old when I went to nursing school. And, I really didn't need help with nursing school. I needed help with a 3-year-old. So, that's different things that we can do in order to help those CNAs also develop their career in nursing school and grow up from there and then come back and be great nurses, like you mentioned.
I love it. I love seeing the growth from CNA to nursing school. I work with 2 or 3 CNAs right now and know several that have grown. And I love seeing it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, me too. Me too. We all have to start somewhere, and everybody needs a helping hand up to get to the next level. So that's what we're going to do. Well, Whitney, I want to thank you so much for spending time with me today and sharing your stories. And I'll look forward to hearing more of them, those questions that you have skipped over because you don't want to cry. My big old softy nurse here. And we'll be here again next week.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you and for coming. And everybody stay out there and stay positive.